Welcome to For the Love of Books, Bees Books Edition, a podcast by North Lanarkshire Libraries.
Hi, this is Pari.
And this is Jenny, and we're here to talk about
These books. I can't do my usual arm flourish today because my arms are busy holding a tissue to my chin because I've had the most unwanted, uninvited guest show up this weekend. A giant spot on my chin, Jenny.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And then today, if that was not enough, it started bleeding. Like, am I being haunted by acne?
So you're going to have to do everything single-handedly now.
It's been really stressful, especially thankfully it happened after Book Bug because it would have been quite a challenge to do it all single-handedly. So Jenny sees this beautiful vista of me holding a tissue up to my chin.
That's fine.
Great. We're going to go right into the theme this week.
Which is hidden figures, unlike your spot, which is very much not hidden.
It's so giant, Jenny. Like, I'm in my mid-30s. Oh, I thought acne was like a teenage issue. What's going on?
It's just one, so
it is, but it's like, I think it makes up for what it lacks in quantity by the quality of it. You know, it's like, I'm here. So yes, I think everyone was being very polite and not mentioning it, but I've put it out in the open. So, like you say, it's not hidden anymore.
Yes, no.
Well, it wasn't hidden ever. But I know you know my books, so I want to know your books first.
Okay, that was complicated.
Yes, it was.
There you go.
My blood is draining from my brain to my spot.
I'll keep it going, Harry. I'll keep it going. So my first book is by Kate Atkinson, and it's called Death at the Sign of the Rook.
What a beautiful cover.
It is. I'm going to take my fingers away so you can see
and
it.
we match because it has blood.
Yes, blood dripping down. It's not classed as a crime. But I would say that it's closer to a crime than fiction. But both readers would enjoy it.
Okay.
It's not particularly a murder mystery, so I think that's why it's not classed as crime. It's more of a mystery.
It seems to be a part of a series. Or to start a series.
Yes.
A Jackson Brodie novel. Is that a new love?
Well, I shall tell you a bit more when we get there.
Another Jack to add to your...
And my second book is The Ship of Doom by M.A. Bennett, which is the first of a series.
Yes.
The series is Butterfly Club.
Yes, and we've talked about this before.
We have.
Because this book is never in... Did you request it?
I did request it, yes.
I always look at the series because the cover sounds fantastic, the theme of it sounds fantastic, and the first book is alas, tragically never in our shelf. So you did the clever thing?
Yes, I did the clever thing.
Okay, excellent. So you
say that I know what the books are, but I don't actually know what the books
Well, you will now. Are. So first, I'm going to hide and show you the first book. Again, single-handedly.
It's probably just as well we're not visual.
So my first book is the third in a series, so not the first in a series. It's called Hollow Box, The Hunt for Morrigan Crow, a Nevermore book by Jessica Townsend. I talked about the first book, I think, months ago when I did not remember much of it at all, except that I loved it. And now I do remember because I've reread all the three books in preparation for the fourth book that's just come out this year.
Which I am reading at this moment.
Oh, well, you're going to find out what happened next because I just finished this last night in preparation for today. And so I'll talk about what the hidden figure is here. And the second book is going to delight you and thrill you because it's called I Want My Hat Back.
This is possibly my favourite ever. I want to say book, but it's certainly my favourite ever picture book.
I knew it would. Yes, it would send you into paroxysms of delight. So yes, I Want My Hat Back by John Classen, and in this case, the hidden figure is quite obvious. It is the hat, which is missing.
I can't wait.
So, do you want to talk about one of your books?
I will. I will talk about The Ship of Doom.
Yeah.
So it's the first in the series. It's a junior fiction book by somebody called M.A. Bennett, which I've done no research on whatsoever. I have no idea who this person is. And unlike unusually in an adult book where it would kind of tell you that they live in Fife with their cats, this tells us absolutely nothing.
Oh, do you think it's a, what's it called, pseudonym?
I think so. I don't know what's happening there. But the very first chapter is a letter to the reader from A.M. Bennett or M.E. Bennett,
Oh, this is death. I am suspicious of this person. This is a character for sure.
I want you to have a look at it and see what you think. So I'm going to talk because you're just going to hear silence. So basically, it tells you thank you very much for taking the time to read this book, and then the next section of it is backwards.
It is backwards. That's why I thought the name sounded a bit suspicious.
Yeah.
I see now what they are doing.
Yes, so it's backwards, which took me a few moments to actually get into the way of reading because you know it's reading.
But kids would love it.
Absolutely.
Because I used to love, you know, those kind of mirror languages and things, holding up in front of the mirror or doing codes. I don't have patience for all that anymore.
The good news is the rest of the book is formal.
I'm so glad.
But basically, it starts in London in 1894 with a young girl called Luna, who we find out through the book that her dad is missing, and she's living with her aunt, and her aunt goes to the Butterfly Club in London at the Greenwich Observatory, I want to say, where they look at butterflies, basically, and at that point, you know, that's when they were kind of pinning butterflies and displaying them and things like that. So she goes away to the Butterfly Club, and Luna is just pottering along, and then one day, I think possibly around the 12th birthday kind of a thing, and somebody invites her to the Butterfly Club. So they go through a secret door and they go into a room where there's all these butterflies on the wall. And she notices that there's a lot of people in the room, all who have a very small clockwork butterfly tattooed onto their wrist.
Oh, I'm loving the sound of all of this intrigue.
And it turns out the Butterfly Club is nothing to do with actual butterflies. It's to do with time travel. So I was hooked. I was hooked straight away. Yeah. And because we had seen the series on the shelves but hadn't seen the first book, and I wanted to read the first book, I hadn't really read the blurb or really properly looked at the cover. So the hidden figure to me was the Titanic.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the iceberg.
No, I did not know they were going to the Titanic. It does tell you in the front, HMS Titanic. Or Annie.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either. Yeah,
I was not paying attention whatsoever. So it's called the Ship of Doom, and Luna and two other kids of around about the same age, who are called Constantine and Aidan, are asked to. So basically, the Butterfly Club seems to travel in time over a specific length of time. They don't go too far into the future and they don't go too far into the past, but they kind of travel. And they basically snaffle technology from the future and bring it back and start it again. So they have been tasked with getting Marconi, the radio, and bring it back to their time to kind of try and do something with it. Of course, the kids, they basically know nothing about anything apart from Aidan, who actually controls, like, rides, I don't know, pilots the time machine. But Luna and Constantine have no idea. And they're basically like, here you go, you're going into the future to get this radio. They're not really given any more information than that. And they basically land in the hold of this big ship. They're at Southampton, I think. They go out on deck. They see all the crowd standing. Of course, they have no idea
where they are.
And they don't know about the Titanic because obviously the Titanic is in the future.
Right.
And at first we don't realise it's quite Titanic. Because, you know, we haven't looked at the cover properly. And then as the story kind of goes on, you're suddenly like, oh, wait a minute. And basically, so the hidden figure for me was the Titanic.
So did that did the mystery add to the experience of reading and figuring out? Like, it was a mystery just for you?
Yes, just for me.
So did you like learning about the clues? Like,
yes, and eventually they just kind of say, you know, they see the name of the ship. But at first I'm like,
But you know, I think that would be really interesting because the Titanic for, I guess, certain generations might be like a thing that's instantly recognizable through clues or whatever. But for a lot of kids, especially kids from, well, maybe younger kids, but also kids from different parts of the world, the Titanic wouldn't loom as large in their imagination. So, like you, they would be also like, sort of like, what's going on? Oh, I see. Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it.
Oh, excellent.
There are some bits in it that because you're an adult reading it, sometimes you think, oh, maybe, so there were a few bits like that. It was like, oh, you could have done a wee bit more with this, and done with that. But immediately we meet a baddie, who I feel is going to continue through the series. It seems to be there's other time travellers who are doing things and perhaps not for good. Although the Butterfly Club, in my opinion, is stealing from the future, so they're not really doing good either. But there you go. But I love that the kids are just kind of basically thrown into this situation, and they kind of learn as they're going along. So they try and see if they can find the room where the radio is, so they can just lift it out. Of course, they don't know that the ship is going to need the radio to send an SOS sign.
Yes.
But there's this kind of shadowy baddie, which also could have been a hidden figure until he comes into the light, who has a watch for an eye, which is so cool.
I love that.
And we kind of learn a wee bit more about her dad as well. He's not just went on an extended business trip, shall we say.
Lost in time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the kids kind of decide to split up and work to their strengths. So Aidan, who's very much a cogs and wheels type person, that's why he kind of pilots the time machine, goes downstairs and investigates how the ship is run, to see if he can work out where the radio is. Constantine is very much a kind of younger brother of officers from Prussia, I want to say at the time.
Right.
So he kind of has sort of military knowledge, but not really military knowledge, but he can impersonate an officer on the ship. So he goes and does that. And then Luna, now bear in mind they're only 12, 13ish, but at that time kids were more grown up, if you know what I mean. And they're all quite tall for their age. They're quite they've all had quite a good education in their way. She manages to get into first class, and actually meets Marconi himself, who is on board the ship, and basically befriends him and becomes his secretary. So kind of takes notes for him, and all this is in a way of trying to find out where the radio is and all that kind of stuff. But as they're going along, they kind of learn that the ship isn't all it appears to be. If you know anything about the Titanic, it was kind of in a race with other ships. It was seen to be the unsinkable ship, all that kind of stuff. So the owner of the ship and the captain of the ship, there's a bit of friction there and all that kind of stuff. And Luna sees that part of it from being first class. Constantine kind of sees what's happening with the ship's officers and how they're kind of looking at things, and then Aidan kind of sees in the bowels of the ship, the people who are actually kind of putting the coal in the fire and all that kind of stuff. And we learn wee bits as we're going along.
I love that.
And again, if you know nothing about the Titanic, it's still a brilliant book, because you're learning as they're learning. You don't know anything about it. And then of course we come to let's speed up the engines because we want to win, and we're going to ignore all the warnings about the icebergs from the other ships, and boom,
another hidden figure. Yes, what I thought you were initially referring to. Yes.
And it's just, it was like a quick read as well, because you wanted to kind of find out what happens next, and with the bit of knowledge that you have about the Titanic, you kind of know where you think it's going to go, and then they do something. And they realise that actually, if they go back slightly in time to when they first came to the ship and do some things differently, maybe they can change some things. So they do that, and they do that a couple of times to see if they can change anything. And that's where I feel as if it started getting a little bit wibbly wobbly, because as we know, time travel is wibbly wobbly. You have to be careful, and they have been warned that they can't go the Butterfly Club is called the Butterfly Club basically because it's a butterfly effect.
Mhm.
That if you change one small thing, it has huge, repercussions later on. So they're just seeing it from when they're on the ship, that if they, unlock the cabinet for the binoculars instead of it staying locked, what difference would that make, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But of course, meanwhile, all this is happening. There's a baddie in the background.
With a clock for an eye.
Yes, who we don't really know much about, but seems to know a bit about them, that they are time travellers. And it seems to be almost as if he's stuck on the ship, because he seems to say that he's done it a few times now, as if he kind of goes back to the beginning and does it again. And whether he's stuck or whether that's on purpose, it wasn't particularly clear. But he's trying to, basically, it seems he wants the ship to crash. So it's quite strange.
So there are different philosophies in time travel. I don't know if in the world, but at least in my house, which is I am very much team pro time travel. Like I would love. So this is why this kind of the series intrigued me and I wanted to read it, because it's like heists, time travel heists. I love heists. I love time travel. Sign me up for this sort of thing. I would totally go and have adventures and like try and do things. Whereas Jack, my partner, he is very much of the no, we cannot mess with because we don't know what the consequences are going to be. We can't just willy-nilly go tramping along in the past and like have adverse effects in the future. What side would you fall?
I'm in the middle. So if it was up to me, I would time travel, but in a bubble, so that I couldn't change anything, but I could see things.
Right.
And I could roll along in my giant hamster bubble.
Yes.
And like investigate things.
Yeah.
But nobody could. I couldn't change anything.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
And where would you most like to travel, in the past or in the future? To the past or to the future?
I would think the past. I would like to basically stand on a street corner somewhere and go back in time and see how it changes as you're going back, that specific street corner.
Yeah.
But obviously we all want to go back and see the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I'd love.
Well, actually, I don't know.
If you're in your bubble, though.
That's true. If the
They can't
dinosaurs,
hurt you.
no, because I feel like I've seen Jurassic Park way into my adulthood for the first time, so I have like sort of healthy kind of skepticism for my own chances of survival in this kind of Jurassic era. I think I would love to, like, as much as I would like to see the future and what kinds of things we'd get up to, actually I would like to see the future and see the way that humanity progresses or not. Maybe we go 5,000 years into the future and who are humans? I don't know. But what my favorite thing to do would be, I think, is to solve historical mystery. Like the things that we don't know yet because of whatever. But I'm there and I find out what happens either through my own...
you can see the pyramids getting built and we can see exactly how they get built and not just how we've made it up.
And like, just like, where did the story of Atlantis come from? Is there any truth to those myths and things? So just that kind of stuff. So
I'm the same. I'm not sure I'd want to go into the future because knowing that I couldn't change it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If it was really horrible, would I be able to come back and
that's true.
send humanity on a different course?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're going into the past, it's already happened.
Yeah.
There's not much.
Yeah, you can do.
Yeah.
Well, I
in
guess
that
you could.
giant hamster bubble, I would be fine doing either, I think.
That's true. Well, it sounds like a fantastic series.
It does. And I'm just going to do one more thing, because it finishes, basically they go back to the big butterfly room and kind of say, this is what we did, this is what we didn't do. But while they're kind of talking, they hear somebody mention mummies in the background. And then basically I think the next book is them going to investigate something ancient Egypty, which I'm totally on board with, so that's great. But the good thing about the author is they have put at the very end some wee details about the characters that you meet who were real people.
Oh yes, like Marconi.
Yes, so it turns out, and I'm going to flick to the end,
whose name I always read as Macaroni.
Yes.
That just says more about me and my priority.
So it kind of tells you about like the binocular cabinet, which was a thing. That the key for the cabinet was back in Southampton, I think.
Right.
To get into the binoculars so they couldn't see as far. It tells you a bit about Marconi, who actually changed his mind at the last minute and didn't get on Titanic. But you know, for the purposes of this story, this is where he was. It tells you a bit about the kind of captain and things like that. So even if you don't know, if you've never seen the film, which we've all seen, or know anything about it, it does kind of tell you a wee bit at the end about them, because some of the characters that you do meet are actual people. It also tells you a wee bit about the coal stacks, which were an issue as well, which I liked because it kind of finished things off for you. So no, it was very good.
I think this would be such a good book to read, even for adults and children, in preparation to visiting, like, you know, Belfast or Southampton or Liverpool. I think there's a Titanic museum in Liverpool, and there is one in Belfast, which I absolutely loved. So it kind of, it's fictional, obviously, and it fictionalizes the events, but it makes them more contextually relevant. Like, you'd be more invested. Like, I'm a museum nerd, but not everybody is. So I think this would be like a good companion.
And I think the Titanic, even now, well over 100 years later, because it's 1912 when it happens, there's still romance about it. You know, there's still interest in it. There's still kind of, and like I did like a little bit of like research about the Titanic afterwards, and you know, it's basically saying now that there's not much left of it, you know, because it is kind of disappearing. But I really enjoyed it.
And you
will enjoy it. And yes, I will definitely sing it, which I don't know that we have here either.
What is the second?
The mummy one. The mummy
maybe not. Yeah.
I think we've got book 3 and book 4, so I will be definitely requesting.
And you have lots to look forward to. Well, you will know more about this book that I'm going to be, well, at least the events after. But I had forgotten how much I loved this series. Like, I knew I loved this series, the Nevermore series, because it just felt, in terms of world building and in terms of complex characters, even like the baddie in this is more sort of nuanced. Like, not that he's like an anti-hero or anything. He is pretty.
No, he is very bad.
But you still kind of like, you're not sympathetic, but you like him as or at least I like him as a character, because he is what he is.
Yes,
you know, he doesn't make any excuses, and he's not just like, oh, I'm going to take over the world. I want to, but also there's other undercurrents. And it's also really funny and like weird and bizarre, like in terms of, so for those who haven't read the first book, basically Morrigan Crow, which is such a fantastic name as well, is rescued from her life. She was about to die on her 12th birthday, 11th birthday, and she's rescued and taken to the secret city called the Free City, and she's becomes a part of this kind of magic schoolish system, the Wondrous Society, and lots of different students there have different knacks for things. So it could be something like cooking or art or fighting or murder. I don't think there is anyone who is good at murder, but unless the baddie, dragon riding, moving swiftly on. And also she has a different kind of knack, a knack that's treated with a lot of suspicion, even in the society. So the first book was a little bit about that. In the second book, she's an established student. Her school knows who she is. She gets a little bit of grief for that, but she has like friends, and you know, she's so the second book is also great. Also like goes on different tangents. But the third book, so she is now that she's gotten comfortable in her role at school. She knows she's finding out more about the world that she lives in, because she's never been here before. She doesn't know its history, its society. So you're finding out about it through her eyes as well. And I love it. So in this case, she's uncovered another secret within the school, which is a sort of secret kind of school within a school that is only for people who have her specific knack, which in this case is only her and the baddie. Ezra Squall, which is also a fantastic name.
Yes, really good name.
And the sort of tension in this book is that, so in this sort of universe, there are humans and there are creatures called Wunimals who are kind of animals, but they're sentient in terms of they can talk to humans and they dress as humans. They have professions and stuff, teachers and like policemen and librarians and things. And coming to that is my contribution for the hidden figure in this world, which is the library, the Goblin Library, because I had absolutely forgotten about this completely until I was reading this over the weekend, and I was like, I know what I'm going to talk about on Tuesday. So they've never been to the library before. And in this case, in their world, the library has an age limit. So they're too young to be in the library, not because of the kinds of books there are, but because it's a really dangerous space. So they go into they go to this place, which they think is the library, and they enter the archway. And the library is basically this pocket universe, this parallel universe, which is the whole city replicated, but in like this pocket universe. But instead of buildings, there are books. There's like towers and towers of books. And the reason that it's dangerous is because a lot of times characters from the library escape out into the world, into the library world, and there are book fighters whose job it is to like sort of.
I want this job.
Yeah, well, I thought I did until what happened in the end, which is book bugs. That came out. So it's not like our like charming little book bug. Yes, no, these are literally bugs that have come out from one of the really popular insect books. It was lavishly illustrated, so kept being borrowed, and people weren't like careful about shutting it properly. So these bugs have come and reproduced, and like they're like giant bugs, and they attack you and try to. I don't know if they try to kill you, but it looks like it anyway. I don't know if, and they're disgusting. Like, you know, if you kill them, there's like pus that falls over you and just gross thing. I don't think I have the stomach. Yes. So I was with you. I was the same. I was like, oh, I would love to, you know, sort of go after characters and try to get them back into the books. And then book bugs came, and I was like, oh, maybe not. No.
Some POC.
Yes. And it's just such, and it was only like a few chapters. I think maybe 3 chapters that you see this library. But it's something that, and they, you know, there's big fallout after that, and they're not supposed to be there. They were too young and stuff. So I think that they'll return to it at some point, maybe even in your book, or in future books. But even just that glimpse of it, I love that it gave this possibility for such a bigger world than, you know, even within here. And she finds that as well. Like this, obviously we romanticize libraries, even though we work in them, and it's not always romantic.
It's not. No.
But in this case, it's just such a fun kind of way to imagine the possibilities of a library. So I love that. So the hidden figures are the creatures in the characters who come out, also the book bugs, unfortunately, and the library itself. I also like that the librarian, so she's basically like their kind of conductor, who's like their mentor. This classroom's mentor has used her contact, like an ex-girlfriend, to sort of push them into the library and asked her to give them a tour. And one of her suggestions was, oh, maybe they can go to the children's section. And the librarian is like, are you mad? The children's section where there are evil sorcerers and dragons and all these crazy creatures? No way, that's the most unsafe part of the section. But, you know, like, you can see sometimes our children's section can get a bit scary.
They can do, yes.
As well. And I just loved it. So it is a little, like, and so throughout the book, you're finding out about, this Hollowpox, that's the name of the disease, that is I started to talk about what they were doing, and I got distracted by the library, as is.
Fair enough.
So the Bunimals are the sentient animals who basically, this Hollowpox is a disease that's taking over them and is making them completely lose control and revert to, or like behave like animals, without any control, and like completely vicious and attacking people and things. So it's become this big, it started off small, they were trying to keep it hidden, but it's become this big problem because people are sort of turning against the Bunimals, and they're turning against each other even, and they want to like lock them up away and things and take away their rights. So lots of sort of complex issues are being explored even within this kind of fantasy realm. And I love how Jessica Townsend, the author, doesn't shy away from exploring these, and also doesn't like give us like, oh, in the end, everything is tied up neatly in a bow and, you know, happy ending and stuff. She still like shows how difficult people can be, how difficult people's different motivations and interactions can be, and how when it comes together, it's stuff that as adults in the real world, we're still trying to figure out. And, you know, things that you can read into this. And it just made it very, like, you can read a lot into it. She's British, I think, British Australian. So she writes, I think, like, is echoes British kind of things that are happening. But I think anywhere in the world, if you read this, you'd be able to read your own reality into it. And I love this series. I'm really excited to read the fourth book. Are you enjoying the book?
I am. I'm not very far into it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had just finished The Ship of
Yeah.
Doom, which I didn't put on a voice for. The Ship of Doom.
Oh, that's a good
yes.
voice, yeah.
But it kind of just starts from where the one that you've read
Mhm.
finishes.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you want. You want it to be kind of year by year, if you know what I mean, especially because it is kind of a school.
Yes.
Kind of a story as well.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm very much enjoying it. But I had forgotten some things.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I read that one.
Mhm.
So it is taking a wee while to catch up. You'll just dive straight in because you'll have read it more recently.
Yeah, I'd totally forgotten because I read it in 2020, I
Yeah.
think. That's when this book came out and the others came out a little before that. And then there were 5 years between. Yeah, but this year I've like abandoned a lot of books and series. I think I've told you about this, even TV series. I'm like, I don't have time now for things that are not bringing me unadulterated joy, or at least like emotions that are positive.
Yeah.
And I've also been doing a lot of rereading. I used to reread a lot as a child, but then in sort of when I got more access to books in my 20s and early 30s, I felt like there's no time to reread because there are so many books out there. But I've reread quite a lot this year and I've really been enjoying it because, first of all, it helps that my memory is atrocious.
Absolutely, yes.
So it's like I'm meeting everything anew. Like I had vague recollections of things that happened here. But this book especially, everything was like, oh, what? Especially the library, which I'd completely forgotten about. And also like these various other interactions that she has with Ezra Squall, as well as all her like family. And she lives in this hotel. I'd forgotten about the hotel as a character.
The hotel makes a very lovely appearance. It just has in the bit where I'm reading in the fourth one. And like that, I had forgotten how wonderful that is.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was, and I was like, oh yeah.
It's like a hotel that sort of has its own personality.
Yes.
And it shows its personality very much. In this point, like the disease has kind of ravaged the city, and Jupiter North, another great name, who is her patron, her mentor, has decided to shut the hotel down just because he doesn't want to only invite human people. He wants to be able to invite the animals as well, but they're under curfew. So he's like, no, I'm just going to shut it down. And the hotel is like really depressed because there's no guests around, and then shows that through its various. So it's the kind of hotel that changes different rooms and her bedroom as well into things that it thinks she would like, or sometimes just showing how sad and depressed it is.
And it's certainly like, you know, when it's angry and upset, it's but also when it's happy.
And there's so much happy. Like there's so many of like these kind of elements. It's not, and they work so well all together, including the characters. I think work so well. They really stand out to me as a specific. Like her friends are like a very specific. Oh yes, Hawthorne and Cadence are very, and like her mentor and all these other adults. So I just love this.
The author weaves everything together really, really well.
Absolutely.
And there are things in it I think that are familiar if you read those kind of books. But she's taken another look at it, if you know what I mean. So you know that, you know, she's got her team at school and, you know, that she's going to have friends at school because that's what happens.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? But in the first couple of books, it wasn't clear that what's going to happen.
No.
Because she was kind of
a ghost child, and then like she was suspected of having nefarious intentions.
Exactly. So it's they're really good.
Yes,
really good
and like I would absolutely recommend these to adults as well, because it's just there's such a sense of joy and fun.
Yes.
Like, you know, in the book, like the kinds of different elements, the sort of throwaway jokes and snarky comments, and the world building. It's this book should get all the kind of praise that some other books that I don't like are getting. But yes, so Hidden Figure.
Excellent.
What about your question mark?
Question mark. So this was recommended to me because I like Golden Age crime and that kind of thing. This is not Golden Age crime, but it has bits of Golden Age crime about it. It is part of a series, and this is not book one.
Oh.
So my hidden figure is Jackson Brodie from previous books, and I would never do this. I would never jump in to a series on book 8.
Oh, right.
It's around about there. But I think what's happened is I completely missed these the first time round. The first one's called Case Histories. Completely bypassed me for some reason. And the one before this one, there's been a gap, I think, before this one. So this seems to be, you could read it as a standalone novel because the main character, Jackson Brodie, is kind of, as far as I could tell, was a policeman, and now he's not. He's kind of an investigator on his own. He's a wee bit older now, so it seems to be as if, you know, something's happened,
Right.
and now he's gone on to do something else. So yes, you could read it on its own, but there are characters in it that have obviously popped up from previous books, and it makes me want to go back and read the previous books. Yes.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore Jackson Brodie. I don't love him like I love Jack Logan,
Give him time.
but I adore his kind of sense of humour. Is kind of like that. His kind of passing comments that he makes, and I want to know more. So I want to know his backstory. And the good thing is, I can know his backstory because there are previous books.
Yeah.
The story itself, basically, he seems to be kind of investigating this missing picture. So the woman has died. The grown-up kids have said there used to be this, you know, beautiful picture on the wall, this painting. It's gone, but so has the carer that came in to look after the mum in her later life. It kind of looks as if she's stolen it, and you know, he's going to investigate it, and that's it. That is not what happens. There's a lot more to it than that. It turns out that missing art is a big thing. It is a good way to kind of launder money if you're a criminal.
Good to know.
Yes.
Bad career giver.
And it kind of eventually ends in a big country house. And I don't want to give too much away because I'd love it if people read it. But basically they go to this big country house, which also has had a painting disappear. There also was a kind of housekeeper that disappeared at the same time. They kind of think it's possibly the same person, and it's somebody playing a long game. It's not somebody that goes in and steals it straight away. You know, she lived there for a bunch of time. I think, you know, a year, maybe 2.
She's building trust.
Yes, kind of finding out the lay of the land and all that kind of stuff. But Jackson himself is more interested in the first picture that's went missing because they don't really know much about it. It's basically a woman holding a weasel or some kind of polecat or something. But they're not. So all he's seen is a picture of the picture. And already it kind of spoke to him. But the family don't really know much about it, so we think. But they want it back. So he does investigating, and they end up in this big country house. But it's hysterical because there's a big snowstorm basically, and all these people are going there for a murder mystery weekend because it's a big country house. They're losing money left, right and centre. They're getting taxed left, right and centre. We all think of big country houses and, you know, how rich the people are in it, but you know, it's not always the case. So they have sold off quite a few paintings and things like that. They're now opening up half the house to the public as a kind of and then they're also making part of it into a hotel. So there's like a hotel in the house, which the matriarch of the family is completely like not up for at all. And one of the things that they're starting to do are murder mysteries. So they're doing a kind of Downton Abbey type murder mystery. So all these actors have appeared who've got their own story happening as well. There's this big snowstorm. So there's random people coming in. There's an escaped murderer, cop killer, who has, you know, about on the moors at this point as well. Jackson and his police friends arrive in this snowstorm. There's a priest. There's a guy who was in the army that's lost a leg, who's recuperating in the
So it's proper hijinks.
Yes, there's so much going on, and throughout the book you're kind of, it's mostly from Jackson's point of view, but you're kind of seeing things from the priest's point of view. He's kind of lost his faith a bit, and he's kind of not sure, you know, where he's going, but he likes people, so he's still there to help people. You find out, and I've forgotten his name now because he was lovely, the guy in the army who's I think he's a major, who's lost his leg, is there living with his sister and her wife and kind of trying to recuperate, and is pottering around. You know, there's so many people in it that were written so well. And as I say, I immediately want to go back and get the first one. And of course, we don't have the first one. So our very kind librarian is going to buy it in so that people can read it. I believe it has been made into a TV series with the lovely Jason Isaacs playing Jackson Brodie, which I knew. I've not seen it. As I say, everything, all this passed me by, but I suddenly realised that's who that was.
Right.
So when I was reading this in my head, the main character very much is Jason Isaacs, but not of like Harry Potter. More of kind of, you know, policeman kind of a thing about him, because he was a policeman. But I absolutely adored it. Absolutely adored it. But as I say, the hidden figure is the younger Jackson Brodie.
Yes.
And I immediately wanted to go and find out more.
But do you think it took away from your enjoyment of the book, just reading it 8 books in or whatever it was?
Yes and no. I quite liked that these kind of characters, like his police friend, things like that, popped up and were quite like snarky about him because they know about him, but I don't. And I want to find out why they're snarky about him. I want to find out why she's like, oh no, please don't look at me. I don't want you to notice me. Oh no, you've noticed me. Okay. And he's very kind of manipulative's not the right word, because that's not a nice word, but he's manipulative and that he kind of knows how to get around them.
Right.
We don't know how, well, I didn't know how he knows. You know what I mean? So actually, in a way, I quite liked it, which I didn't think I would ever say about a book that I'm starting off. But I think because there has been a gap and he's older and it feels as if it could be the start of a series, if you see what I mean. And that we would know about these people as we went on. I think it worked for me.
I think these kind of books, like there was one book, one series, the Jack Logan series, that you said that it wouldn't work just because there are characters, important plot points that are not resolved in books. But otherwise, in even like a Agatha Christie, a sort of Hercule Poirot or Miss Marple, I think it works even if you do enter it at a certain stage, because like you say, there's a lot of backstory that you're missing. But I think, at least from what I've encountered, they write it in a way that it could be an entry point for someone who has missed out on the previous book. So they would, like, it doesn't so much matter to a way that's detrimental to the reading experience. It's just something that, like it's a well-lived-in character. So you know that this character is, you know, like has had a history, has had past, has these relationships with people. But the focus of it, like that's just, it'll be extra nice for people who already have like experiences with these people. But for somebody who doesn't, maybe they will go back and read it, or if they could just read this and be like, oh, this was a great fun old time. So that's a really cool sort of, like way to deal with the series.
And I like the fact that I know that I've got books to read, if you know what I mean. It's not like Tanzania where you're up to date and there is nothing else happening. So I want to say 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. No, without my glasses, I'm still saying 7. So we're 7 in. And I hope she writes more. But I'm delighted that I can go back and read them for the first time and kind of catch up.
Have you ever read any Kate Atkinson before?
Not at all.
No,
not that I can think of. I've seen her about, and I know that a lot of people do like her books. You know, quite often when they bring them back, they'll say, "Oh, that's brilliant." I think her other books are kind of more fiction.
That's the sort of vibe I got. Like, I'm very surprised that I have not read her either, but the kind of people she's clubbed with, or the kind of sort of books that I've seen her with, it seems to be like literary fiction more, and like sort of grown up, like, you know, sort of
grown up books,
rather than like this, which is also obviously a grown up book, but not, it's a genre fiction. So maybe like you say that it's not classed as crime, maybe that's a deliberate kind of thing as well, either from whoever does it on our end or from the publisher, because they're trying to expand people like from both sides of this sort of reading spectrum, people who would have read her litfic or people who would like reading sort of murders or crimes and things. So it would be a good entry point to both in that.
Absolutely. But no, I adored it, and I love the so they have reprinted quite a few of the previous books as well, and they've all got this kind of very It does look like a golden age crime type
Yeah.
cover.
Oh, I love. I
it's-
would have that illustration
Mhm.
of the rook, I'm assuming,
Mhm.
and with the yellow at the back,
Mhm.
with maybe even the blood dripping down on a t-shirt. Like I would
Yes,
totally wear
yeah,
that. Very
absolutely.
striking design.
Absolutely. So I'm interested to see what the edition that is getting bought in looks like. If it's going to be like the new
This one, yeah.
It'll be paperback, but and this is hardback. But
Yeah.
I'm looking forward.
Well, another thing that I would love on my t-shirt, good segue,
Yes.
is I Want My Hat Back by John Klassen. So I was doing a little bit of research about it. So I have new facts for you,
Oh.
Jenny.
Excellent.
But for other people who don't know this book at all, it's the premise is super simple. I'm just going to read it. Not the book, the premise. A bear has lost his hat. What if he never sees it again? Wait! He has seen his hat. And that's all. So basically, this is his bear. As you can see on the cover, he is completely hatless.
Mhm.
And he has lost his hat. So he goes around to different animals and asks them if they've seen his hat. None of them have seen his hat. Some of them have seen a hat, but it's not his hat. Some of them don't know what a hat is. It's very simple back and forth dialogue-based book. And then in the end, he gets really depressed because he's never going to see his hat again. And he's lost all faith in like the world and hats and people and animals until he realizes he actually has seen his hat. In fact, we've seen his hat. And it's like visual humor, visual cues that a sort of keen-eyed child or adult would be paying attention to. And then he goes back, and in the end, there is a plot twist.
Plot twist is wonderful.
Yes, which I don't know that I want to spoil.
No.
But because I do think both adults and children should totally read this book and would totally love this book. Except I think some adults don't love this book. I love this book. I love introducing you to books I love as well, Jenny.
Yes.
I think I've introduced you to both Nevermore and
You have
this. And I love reading this book with you, but I also love reading it with adults.
Mhm.
So what I tend to do is I take on the persona of the bear. And I can't do voices. I'm not a voices reader. What about, do you do voices?
Not
when you
really,
read?
not well.
I'm just very bad at voices. I know there's another co-worker of ours who does BookBug, and he is really good at accents and voices. For me, I think all my accents would sound the same and all the voices would sound the same. What I do well, I think, is drama. I love being melodramatic. Yeah, so I love the...
And the bear is...
Oh, that one, like you, otherwise he's like quite calm and polite and just like, okay, I'm going to ask, and oh, you don't know, okay, well, thank you anyway, until it turns and then drama ensues. And I like that potential for drama. And I forgot what I was saying, but yes, no, people don't like the twist in the end. And what I do is I tend to make the grown-ups who are with the kids each of the animals. So I go around and make them the animals. And sometimes I know who the culprit is, who the hat thief is, and what happens to them. So if you're around, it is you, because you know what's coming and you know what to do.
And I love being the culprit.
You love being but sometimes there was this one time, the most recent time I read it, I made an adult who I know, like who has come to a lot of my BookBug sessions, the culprit, and he was quite taken aback at the accusation because in the beginning I just went to him and asked him if he'd seen my hat, and he hadn't. Like he read out the bit and he thought, okay, my part in it is done, and then it wasn't because I came and I accused him. It was like, oh, he got a little bit of a fright, I think. What I love about this book is how it subverts expectations. It's quite like simple. So what he said, like I was reading sort of research for this conversation, he doesn't like drawing characters, or he didn't like drawing characters at all, which is surprising to me because this book is full of like some fantastic looking characters. So he likes drawing settings, and he has this is John Klassen's first book that he's written and illustrated. So he's illustrated books for other people before. This is the first book he wrote. And he comes from an animation background. So this allowed him to like not focus on the action so much because you don't see any action.
No.
It's all off screen, which is probably good for sensitive children and adults. But he started off before this book. He knew somebody who worked in a greeting cards company and asked him to like, why don't you send us some ideas for greeting cards? And he just basically sent settings-based ideas. And they were like, oh, maybe, not humanize it a bit, but like maybe sort of have somebody to root for, or like characters and things. So this bear ended up being one of the characters in the thing, and all of this kind of style of it. And he likes he said that he liked that even in the cards, and in the book, all these animals look like they're totally baffled at why they are in this world that they are. Why are we in a greeting card? Why are we in a book? And in the cards, there was that hat, the red pointed hat, the one that goes missing. So that's how he got this idea. And he also is aware that the ending is a little bit controversial for some adults, because some adults like morals in their thing. So they're like, oh, the thief should be punished, but not quite in that way, and should learn the lesson and like then go on to live a non-thievy life, I guess, or like be a better culprit. I don't want to say which animal, but be a better animal. And then this sort of the protagonist also learns, like, okay, yes, I should maybe not trust everyone who says they've not seen my hat. Maybe I should be more suspicious. But this one takes like a dark turn for some. For me, a very, very funny turn. And kids would totally miss it sometimes, I think.
Yes.
And because it relies so much on visual cues and visual humor, and also context building that really young kids might not know. They're like, oh, what's happened to this animal who was right here? Oh, why is this bear acting so shifty all of a sudden in the end? And adults would like enjoy it, I think. So I absolutely love this book. As I said, the book, the hidden figure is the hat. What I also didn't realize is I was reading an interview with him about like the book and his motivations for it. So he writes that he has a very sort of dry and sarcastic and deadpan kind of humor in his book, like his other books as well. But that is kind of like a cloak or a disguise for the furious rage that he feels at things. Yes. So he wrote this book. It came out in 2011, but he was writing it like just a few years before that, I think. And it was in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis and things, and like the banks got away with like ruining a lot of people's lives, and just the kinds of things that were happening, which right now feels like such an innocent age considering we're in 2025 and the world has got so much worse in like some aspects. But he was really like furious about things that were happening and felt this loss of control. So he almost channeled that rage into this book, and he's like having this culprit having these outsized consequences, because don't we just wish we could like sort of like deal with our problems like this, like in just like justice, in like very vengeful justice, and not let them get away with hat thievery in this case. And I thought that was really interesting because I didn't see that in him. But I think they've said that about Terry Pratchett as well in Discworld, where you read the books, the Discworld books, and they're really like sort of they talk about a lot of issues, but they're fun at the out, like like as sort of that sense of joy and fun, like in Nevermore. But he wrote from this sense of rage and in like at the injustice and the sort of stupidities of the world, and channeled that into his art. So I love that he does that in the form of a picture book that looks really sort of simple enough on its sort of like at just from a surface level, but I like that it had this bigger kind of picture. But I just love this.
It's other bits of similar as well, aren't they? Kind of I can't think of one that's in the back.
Well, I Want My Hat Back was the first in the Hat trilogy. The second one was This Is Not My Hat.
That's right.
About an unreliable narrator, the fish. Well, I guess he was reliably narrating his theft, like he was the thief. And the third book is called We Found a Hat, where two turtles find a hat. So he didn't mean for it to be a trilogy. He writes, like if you go look up articles of his online, it's really interesting, his process of how he sort of came to it. But yes, he thought that the hat made like a wonderful character in itself and drew all these different things
and
around
all
it.
Three of them are odd in their way. They're not, as you say, kind of moral. Based.
No, they're not.
And
they create a space for, I think, that kids might recognize themselves in, because kids can be quite like
absolutely.
They can be so ruthless, and especially in their sense of right and wrong and things. And I'm sure adults would recognize a lot of their being terrorized by their kids and their toddlers, especially in the way that also like I like that one of the reviews said that children are so bad at lying, and we see that here in the case of the culprit. But like they want to believe each other. They won't accuse each other of lying. So we see that. So I think that it's so cool that even in such a sparse book as this, which doesn't have that many, there's so many interpretations
Absolutely.
based on who is doing. The writer and illustrator has his own like motivations,
Mhm.
and then whoever is reading has like different, like we might read it for different purposes at different times.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I would totally recommend this book to everyone, everybody. If you have a child or not, you were a child at one point. Surely you would remember.
But you're right. I would like this on my T-shirt.
Yes.
Just
Merch.
the bear.
Yeah, the bear merch. I mean, the culprit would also be good. Maybe like a hidden at the back.
At the back.
Maybe.
Yes.
So yes, that was my hidden figure for today.
Excellent.
I think that is good on both of us. We both came prepared with figures that were hidden.
We did.
I came with a figure that was not hidden as well.
I think he's probably delighted that we've actually like
We actually. But what about next time?
Yes, so next time our theme is going to be probably not.
Oh, that would also come in many different tones,
Yes.
I think. Tones and vibes.
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. I don't know. I can't think of a book where it was so dramatic. But I'm sure.
Well, the
Yeah.
culprit, you know, and
That's
I
true.
want my hat
Yes,
back,
that's true.
I
So
can see that.
yeah. So now I'm gonna go and look up if there is any hat related, bear related / culprit related merch out there.
Absolutely.
But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.